church. Tell your neighbor, I got a daddy. Yeah, you got to know that you got a status. It is in that status when you many times are living beneath your privilege. Many of you don't realize it right now. But the status that you are living beneath your privilege. You have not excelled to where God wants you to be. There's an invitation outstanding. Look at somebody and ask them, say, have you got your invitation yet? Oh, hallelujah, God. There is an invitation outstanding to come to the King's table. But he's saying he's in the place. He's been sold. He is of the people of God, but he's in a bad place called Lodabar. Lodabar means no pastor. Let me break that down for you. There is no worse place for a sheep than no pastor. There is no worse place for a sheep, because if it says that there is no pastor, it means that there is no shepherd. David clarified that when he said about the Lord, he said, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He goes on to say, he maketh me to lie down. Even when I'm having a bad day and the enemy is on every side, if I am in the shepherd's pasture, then I need not to concern myself with the wiles of the enemy. All I got to do is stay in the fold. I looked up how shepherds handle their flock. They like to keep them close together, because the closer they are together, the more protection they have from the enemy. If only we had sheep sense. Y'all don't hear me. I said, if only we had some sheep sense. What the pastor would do, or what the shepherd would do, he would bring them in close and then provide a watchful eye over the flock. But here is Mephibosheth in Lodabar, no pastor, a desolate place. In my dining room, I never even told my sister this. I don't know if I told her. I don't think I did. On my dining room wall, it may seem to be an inappropriate place to have such a painting, but I have a huge painting of a sheep that's grazing by still waters. Because I recognize when I sit there to eat, it's because of where God led me. Every time I sit there to eat, I'm constantly reminded that I was once in a Lodabar. But he led me beside still waters and restored my soul. It's a constant reminder to me that every morsel that I eat is not to be taken for granted, because there was a time in my life to where I didn't know where my next meal was going to come from. But I've been invited to the King's table. Listen, the shepherd will lead you beside a place of peace. When he brings you to the King's table, it'll be a place of comfort. It'll be a place to where all your burdens can be laid down. So here we find Mephibosheth. The invitation has gone out, and I can only imagine if he went on the feud that was well known between David and his granddaddy, that he would have been skeptical to honor the invitation of David. But sometimes you got to go past even folk that you look up to. You got to get to know some folk for yourself. I can't hear nobody. Some folks, if I went on what Granddaddy said about David, I would forever have been in Lodabar. But when I came to know the King for myself, Mephibosheth came to know David for himself by way of the invitation. Listen to this. In the book of Romans, Paul wrote this. He says, but I see another law in my members warring against the law of my mind, bringing me into captivity to the law of sin, which is in my members. Oh, wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from this body of this death? I see Titus raising his hand in the crowd. And Paul, I can answer that question. In the book of Titus, chapter 3 and verse 4. He says, but after that the kindness and the love of God, our Savior, toward man appeared. God, in his kindness, in his goodness, and in his mercy, sent us Jesus as an invitation to come and sit down at the King's table. He didn't just send anybody. He sent Jesus with the invitation that we could come and sit and be in the company and in the fellowship of the saints. Jeremiah says at the same time, chapter 31, Jeremiah, he says, at the same time saith the Lord, I will be a God of all the families of Israel, and they shall be my people. Tell somebody that's my status. I'm a person. I'm a people of God. He said, thus saith the Lord, the people which were left of the sword found grace in the wilderness. Oh, the enemy wanted to kill you, but God said that you were left of the sword. When he tried to snuff out the seed in the family, God said, I didn't let him kill you, because it's you that found grace in the wilderness. Is there anybody in here today that know that it was you that found grace in your wilderness? Oh, it didn't look good. It didn't look like you were going to make it. But when grace comes down the aisle, when grace comes down your road, nobody can stop the grace of God. Oh, somebody shout glory. He said that he found grace in the wilderness. Even Israel, when I went to cause him to rest, the Lord has appeared of old unto me, saying, yea, I have loved thee with an everlasting love. Therefore, with loving kindness have I drawn thee. I came to let you know today that you got an invitation. And the invitation reads, there is loving kindness awaiting you at the King's table. Can I get ready to get out of here? I need to show you something. When I read the text, I saw that when David inquired and was talking to Ziba about Mephibosheth, Mephibosheth made sure that he pointed out to David that his feet are messed up. There are some folk that when it comes down to you, they're going to point out your weaknesses. They're going to talk to you and they'll talk to everybody else about what you can't do, about where you ain't going, about what you don't have. But what I like about the King didn't change his mind. What I like about the King, even though his feet was messed up, I can't be a good soldier in your army. I don't want you to be a soldier today. I want you to come to my table. If God, I said, if God be you, who can be against you? Somebody ought to say yes. Say yes. Say yes. When they told him about his feet, look at the King. He said, okay then, since he can't do nothing, I'm going to give it. Servants, see, God will elevate you. What people thought was never going to happen. it'll start happening in your life. What God got for you, it is for you. Somebody give me praise. That was Methuselah sitting at home just like any other day. There is nothing special happening. The sky is the same color today that it was yesterday. He still got the same bills coming in. The folk down the street still don't talk to him. Nobody still wants to be bothered with it. But you see in this place, Methuselah is about to receive an invitation. Look at your neighbor and tell him, you may want to watch how you treat me, because the day might be the day that I get my invitation. Things are getting ready to change in my life. Somebody ought to say, yeah, I got you to grab hold. Say things are getting ready to change. But then with his bad foot self, sitting in Lodabar, sitting in a dry place, sitting in a place where he probably got to lock the doors twice to keep folk from breaking in. He's in a bad place, sitting in a neighborhood that's overrun with drugs. He's in a bad place. He went yesterday to try to go to the store, but when he got in the car wouldn't start. He's in a bad place in his Lodabar. But somebody said, what's all the fanfare? What's that coming down the street? It looks like some black limos. Look like y'all gonna let me preach. Look at what's coming down the street. When the king send for you, he don't just come any kind of way. He said to me, he said, I'll make your enemies your footstool. What you do in the dark, he said, I'm going to manifest my glory in the light. Everything that the canker worm and the caterpillar has eaten, I'm getting ready to give it back. Look at God. Got an invitation. Come to the king's head. Here now, Methuselah, somebody says, I can imagine he's like everybody else. Where are they going? He probably made his way with his two bad feet, with all the noise, looking out the window, waiting for the procession to pass him by. But I remember the song that the saints used to sing. Pass me not, oh gentle Savior, but hear my humble cry. Wise ones, thou art calling. Do not pass me by. I can see Methuselah over at the window, and then all of a sudden, look at your neighbor. Tell them what's getting ready to happen. It's going to happen all of a sudden. It ain't going to take long now. God's getting ready to do what he do. God's getting ready to bless you like you've never been blessed. Somebody say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Peeks out through the blinds, and then all of a sudden the procession stops in front of his house. Can you imagine the look on his face? Because when the king comes, it's not hard to identify when the king shows up. I've seen people in my life, it wasn't hard for me to tell that when the king had showed up, if they were a drunk, they were no longer a drunk. I could tell that the king had showed up. If they were a drug addict, they were no longer a drug addict. I could tell that the king had shown up. If they were in poverty, they were no longer in poverty. I could tell that the king had shown up. If they were on their deathbed, God raised them up. I could tell that the king has shown up. Somebody say yeah. Somebody say yeah. stop at Mephibosheth's house. Sometimes your blessing can roll upon you so quick, you'll think something wrong. Have I paid my taxes? If somebody lied on me and said that I owe some, I did something wrong because I can't see the reason that the king is at my house. It ain't what you did. It's what prayer did. How many know prayers don't die? People die, but their prayers live on. I danced on one of my ended prayers. I leaned on one of my ended prayers. I slept with one of my ended prayers. Oh, y'all hear what I'm saying? Prayer lives on. The word comes to Mephibosheth. The king is inviting you to come to his table. He hadn't done anything significant in his life. He's made no strides to where accolades could be bestowed upon him that would bring him recognition by the king. The only thing is that he has going for him is daddy praise. His daddy had the ear of the king. Brings Mephibosheth to gather him up and all of his family that are there in Lodabar. I can only imagine how I would have acted. Once I get the 411, the full story, because I'm going to ask thoroughly. So the king just want me to come over for lunch. No, HOZA. No warrants out for my arrest. No, HOZA. I'm just going to be visiting for a day. No, HOZA. A week? No, HOZA. All right, then I'll let everybody know I'll be back in about 30 days so they'll get the lights turned off. No, HOZA. You won't be coming back to Lodabar. At that point, here is where I get a little crazy, because that's how I think. At that point, me and my 2 bad feet will find our way to wherever I keep my stationery. Because I want to leave a note on the door. Return to the sender. I'm out. Basically, what I'm telling you is that when you come to the king's table, there is some stuff you need to get rid of. Those bridges you need to burn. Because you ain't going back. That's right. All the folk that used to be talking, here come 2 bad feet. You know how folk talk about you. Now they looking out the window. Oh. Ain't nothing wrong with my hand. There's something wrong with my feet. Ain't nothing wrong with my mouth. It's just something wrong with my feet. Y'all holler! Come out of here. David invited Mephibosheth to the palace to live continuously And even his condition was no longer going to keep him from entering into the wealth that was planned for his life, because he took Ziba and all of his family and made them his servants, and all of the land that belonged to Saul, that belonged to their family, he gave it unto Jonathan's son. But Phyllis said, there is stuff that's laid up for you that you don't even know about. About to be out. When they got to the end of the text, to the end of, you'll see that something is repeated. And I thought it was noteworthy, because when I saw it repeated, it jarred me. When he got there to when they finished, if you go back to verse 13, 2 Samuel 9 and verse 13, it says, so Mephibosheth dwelt in Jerusalem, for he did eat continuously at the king's table, and he was lame in both of his feet. Now, why are we still talking about that? Why was it noteworthy for God to remind us again that Mephibosheth was lame in both of his feet? God said, tell him, where your feet can't take you, goodness and mercy can. They did all right over there. But I think they were fooled on something else. So I think y'all hungry. God said, tell them where their feet, where your degree, where your rubbing elbows with the folk, where your all of the stuff you did to try to get ahead. He said, where your feet couldn't take you, he said, goodness and mercy. Goodness and mercy can take you there. I've been in places that my feet couldn't take me. From the natural, I would have been a cripple. I would have been insufficient. I would not have had the education. I would not have had the pedigree. I would not have had the backing. I would not have had the influence to get me in some doors that I've been in. But goodness and mercy knocked on the door. Looked around at whoever was in there. Paid no attention to their color or paid no attention to their wealth, and flung the door open and said, let it in. Let him in. But your feet won't take you. Once you find yourself at the king's table, eat the bread. That's the word of God. If you don't eat the bread, you're not going to recognize goodness and mercy when it shows up. You have no point of reference. The first thing you got to do is eat the bread. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word. Every word, his word becomes bread to your soul. Eat the bread. When you eat the bread, it will begin. You ever got full on bread? Anybody ever? How many of you know that when you eat bread and drink a little water, if you quit eating right then, you'll get full. See, we get full long before our mind tells us we're full. That's why we get a little, because I'm still trying to feel full. But if you will eat bread and let the water out of your belly will flow rivers of living water that will begin to mix with the bread, the words of life, you will begin to understand the revelation. You'll begin to understand the promises. You begin to understand the direction of God. That's why when you knock on some doors that other people find closed to them, goodness and mercy will open the door to you. How many of you know that there are some doors you got to have a combination to? Goodness and mercy, I found, is a good combination to most doors that are locked. Sometimes I put them in the other way. Sometimes I need mercy for goodness. I put goodness for mercy, but that combination will usually get me in. Because my education won't. My bad feet, they just bad. I wasn't the brightest student. Bad feet. I heard a guy say the other day when he got a C, his daddy bought him a car because he was such a bad student. That's pretty bad. But I want you to know today, and I'm out of here. You have an invitation to the King's table. There's somebody in here today, you didn't realize it, but you have an invitation to the King's table. I want you to meet me at this altar today and say, God, I accept my invitation. If that's you sitting there, I want you to get up and say, I accept the invitation. I no longer want to be in Lodabar. Meet me at this altar. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. No longer want to be in a bad place. But then Joseph could have made a decision. He could have rejected the invitation. He didn't have to come. He could have stayed in Lodabar. It's your choice today. If that's you sitting there, you ought to say, God, I accept your invitation today. I'm coming so I can feast at your table. One morsel of that that's on his table will far surpass everything the world has been feeding you. One morsel. One morsel of that is at the King's table will mean more in your life than you could ever know. Somebody sitting there and your mind has been racked with pain. The enemy of confusion tries to tell you that you're losing your mind. That's because you're in a place of no pasture. That's because you need to feast at God's table. There's somebody else here today, you need to come and feast at God's table. We're getting ready to pray for these that have come. Lift your hands. I'm going to have these ministers anoint you with oil. I want you to forget about all the missteps you've made. Forget about all of the bad and wrong decisions that you made in your life. You get ready to leave them in Lodabar. You get ready to write and put a note on the door, I'm gone and I won't be back. You get ready to pass by all of those that have ridiculed you and thought that you would never end up in a good place in life because you accepted the invitation from the King. He has an invitation with your name on it. There's somebody sitting there and no matter how bad life has been, God told me to tell you, if you accept His invitation, He'll turn it around. He'll turn it around. He'll turn it around. So many times we subject ourselves to misery and to going in the wrong way because we've done it for so long that that's become our comfort zone. I dare you to step out of your comfort zone. I dare you to step out. I dare you to step out. Hallelujah. Have your way, God. Speak on this altar today. Oh, glory to God. Have your way. Oh, God's doing it. Oh, hallelujah. The King's table. There's a feast going on. And as long as you are not present, there's an empty spot at the table. As long as you haven't accepted the invitation, there's an empty spot that's at the table. He says, come unto me, all of ye that labor and are heavy laden. He said, I'll give you rest. Aren't you tired of going day in and day out, night in and night out? When you should be sleeping, you're wide awake. Whenever you can steal a little sleep, you seem like you're more weary when you get up than you were before you lay down. You need the peace of God in your life. He said, I'll keep them in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on. He'll speak peace, be still in your life. Is there another today? You'll say, God, I accept your invitation. God, I want you more than anything in my life. God, I'm willing to step out of my comfort zone. I'm willing to leave my Lodabar. Lodabar can become familiar, but Lodabar is not your destiny. Lodabar is not what God intended for your life. But somewhere along the way, life just happened. But today is the day. Today is the day.